Welcome in. Belly up, have a seat, and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I am your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 140, Week 16 preview. And as you can see, I am riding solo tonight at the bar as I had a very long workday, and we are recording this at the very wee hours of the morning. And it would not be fair to ask Bernie to join me at such a awful time of day. And I don't know if I do this because I love you guys or I hate myself, but nonetheless, we are here and we're going to have a good time with a jammed-packed show. In this show, we will set the slate for the prime time games. We'll also check in on the player news and practice reports. We'll take a look at the activity of our league's waiver wire. We'll go over this week's matchups in the Wingman Fantasy Football League. We'll see who's on top of the newest power rankings, and we also have our starts of the week. And we have a special installment of a fourth and long with Bernie. But instead of Bernie, you got me. You're stuck with me. And we'll take a look at our matchups in terms of our Wingman Jam, and we'll set the slate for the next week's Wingman Jam. And of course, we will dive into this week's Mailbag. All right, guys, before we get any further along, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, I want to remind you guys that there are once again no NFL teams on bye this week, so we will be at full strength to set our lineups for the second round of the fantasy football playoffs. However, this week does start the Saturday NFL football schedule, so don't be surprised and don't leave your lineups unchanged in time for those Saturday games. All right, let's set the slate for this week's primetime games. As on Thursday night, we had the Denver Broncos bucking their way over to LA to take on the Chargers at 8:15 p.m. We have our first Saturday games, like I mentioned before, of the 2024 season, starting off with the Houston Texans galloping over to Kansas City to take on the AFC leading Kansas City Chiefs. That game kicks off at 1 p.m. Also on Saturday, the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking to lay the pipe on division rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, and that game starts at 4:30 p.m. The Sunday night game this week has the Tampa Bay Bucks swashbuckling their way over to Big D to take on those Dallas Cowboys, and that game starts at 8:20 p.m. And the last game of the week, the Monday night game, we all know how these Monday night games treat us during playoff times. We will be holding our breath to the final buzzer. The last game of the week has the New Orleans Saints marching up to Green Bay to take on the Packers at 8:15 p.m. Now for the Thursday game, we did have 6 players in our managers' lineups. Starting off in our consolation bracket in the 11th place game, we had the Fantastics, who had Ladd McConkey and LA kicker Cam Dicker in his lineup. Now in the big boy bracket, where it really matters, we have They Took Our Jobs, had the LA Chargers defense in his lineup up against Mac Daddy 2s, who had 3 players in his lineup on the Thursday night game. He had Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, and the Denver defense. A triumvirate of Broncos. Oh my goodness. On Thursday night, what could possibly go wrong? All right, guys, now for some player news and practice reports. As it is later in the season, this news list is long, so stick with me and we'll get through this together. Starting off with Spencer Rattler has been named the starting quarterback for the Saints on Monday night against the Green Bay Packers. Patrick Mahomes is no longer on the injury report, and he looks like he will be good to go on Saturday against the Texans. Isaac Guerendo, a San Francisco running back, what could possibly go wrong? He is now dealing with a hamstring injury, and it looks like he will not be able to play this Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. Keep that in mind, guys. We have new running backs out there to be acquired. Geno Smith has been practicing in full, and it looks like he'll be able to play this Sunday as he's getting over that knee injury from last week. Kenneth Walker, too, he has also returned to practice in a full capacity and looks like he should be go to make his return this weekend. Zach Charbonnet, however, has been limited in practice. So he might get one back on, one back off in terms of the Seahawks backfield. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver for the Dolphins, has not yet practiced this week as he deals with that knee injury, although the coach did deem him day to day. I'm just not sure if Sunday is one of those days. Now, some big news here. Saquon Barkley returned to a full practice on Thursday. A big for our managers who are riding Saquon Barkley and need him in their lineups. Now to the Jets. Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis have both been limited in practice this week, and Breece Hall missed practice on Wednesday, but mysteriously there have been no updates for his Thursday availability. I went up and down the Jets injury list and practice reports, and there's been nothing about Breece Hall on Thursday. I'm assuming he's going to be good to go, and the other guys are banged up, but that's a big jump at this point. Bucky Irving remains limited as he's dealing with that hip and back issue. He did play through the same injury last week, did very well, although he was in and out of the lineup, or splitting carries, with Rachaad White. So he's definitely not 100%, but he is gutting it out. Cade Otton has been missing practice this week. Not sure if he'll be able to play. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver for the Browns, has been limited in practice but he continues to remain in that concussion protocol. Not sure if he's going to get cleared or not. He practiced last week in a limited capacity and did not get cleared. And at this point, it looks like that might be a repeat, but we'll definitely check in as the weekend nears. T. Higgins was downgraded to missing practice on Thursday, but it is believed to be a Veterans Day of rest. Still, it's not quite clear, so check those updates as we get closer to the weekend regarding T. Higgins. Hollywood Brown is expected to make his season debut this weekend for the Chiefs on the Saturday game against the Texans. Aiden O'Connell has been practicing in full, and it looks like he will return to the field as a starting quarterback for the Raiders against the Jaguars. Alvin Kamara has not yet practiced this week, and there's a possibility that the Saints may shut him down, not only for this week, but perhaps for the rest of the season. Once again, keep an eye on that. This one can go either way, guys. Anywhere between playing and missing the rest of the season. Alexander Madison has been a full participant in practice and looks poised to take the lead role back in a juicy matchup against the Jaguars as Sincere McCormick was placed on the IR. Mason Rudolph has been named the starter for the Titans this week against the Colts. Tony Pollard has not yet practiced this week as he deals with that ankle injury. Last week, he did not practice, but he was active for Week 15, but he did seem to aggravate that injury. So this means his Week 16 availability may be in doubt. David Montgomery, we thought he was going to be out for the year, needing MCL surgery to repair his MCL injury, although he's been seeking multiple opinions, trying to get the answer he wants. And at the moment, they haven't slated surgery yet, and he's hoping that just some time off, he'll be able to return to the Lions for the NFL playoffs. But in terms of fantasy, his season is done. George Pickens, wide receiver for the Steelers, has already been ruled out for Week 16, meaning he will miss his third straight game for the Steelers. Joe Mixon, who was a little banged up last week, has no injury designation and looks like he'll be good to go for the Texans against the Chiefs. Chris Olave has been designated to return and he's been practicing in a limited capacity. I don't know if this means he's going to get back on the field or not, as he has up to 21 days before he must be activated. And there's only about 21 days left in the NFL regular season, and the Saints are not going to the playoffs. So this could just be one of those things getting him a head start on practice for next year. Just keep an eye on. He has been designated to return, which is good news, but doesn't mean he's going to get back on the field. Young Shui Koo has been placed on the IR. Finally, he's been struggling the last 3 weeks. They should have done this a while ago, so they could have had him for the last couple games of the season. But now he is going to be out for the rest of the regular season in terms of NFL and the rest of the fantasy football season. So I'm kind of asking you here, even though we're not live streaming here, what of these news items catches your attention the most? I'm going to go back and look at the couple that caught my attention. Patrick Mahomes is not on the injury list. He's going to go. Isaac Guerrero, however, that one's a big one. We just thought he was going to be a meal ticket for the playoffs, and it looks like he's going to miss. Kenneth Walker looks like he's getting back. That's going to damage one of our managers who's been riding the handcuffs, Jack Charbonnet, for a little bit. Saquon Barkley is off the injury report. That's the biggest news I see here. And Alvin Kamara has a wide range of outcomes here. including not playing this week. Okay, guys, let's check in on the activity of this week's waiver wire. All right, this time we had 4 NFL players receiving bids, and 2 of them received multiple bids this time. All right, starting off with Jerome Ford was the highest price waiver wire acquisition this week. Amazing Spidey, even though he's out of the big boy bracket in terms of championship hopes, he couldn't let it go and had to make one more big splash, big move before his season ended. He picked up Jerome Ford for $27, outbidding Red Sox Nation, who put in a $10 bid. Jalen McMillan went to Red Sox Nation for $10, and no one put another bid in for Jalen McMillan. So unfortunately for both Jerome Ford and Jalen McMillan, you guys, you know what you did. You paid too much.
You paid too much.
All right, we had the Detroit defense, injured as they may be. I don't know if this person followed our show and as we had them as a potential pickup, but Red Sox Nation picked up the Detroit defense for $4, outbidding Amazing Spidey, who put in a $0 bid. And Amazing Spidey also picked up the Jacksonville defense for $0. So he was looking to get any defense he can get for free, Detroit or Jacksonville, and Jacksonville got the call. All right, guys, now it's time to see who's playing who in this week's matchups.
I want you! I want the stallion! Ready, down! Put! This week's matchup.
All right, guys, there are no teams on bye this week in terms of our fantasy league, so we've got 6 games going this week. We're going to start off in our little boy bracket. In the consolation bracket, these 2 teams lost last week, and this will be their last game of the season. And the loser of this game will be 12th place in the final standings, while the winner will have a respectable 11th place. So who's battling for to stay out of the bottom? We have the 11th seed, Katie's King George, who finished the regular season at 5-9, up against the 12 seed, Ken's the Fantastics, who finished the season at 3-11. This is a big game for the Fantastics here because he can improve his standings here. He can finish the regular season in 12th, but that final standings in terms of your overall legacy record could be 11th. It is an improvement. Go for it. Go for the improvement. As far as players in this game, nothing too important here, and I didn't write them down. All right, teams still alive in their quest for 7th place in the little boy bracket can definitely improve their standings here. We have Ben's brilliant team, who finished at 7-7. He is our 7th seed, so really he has to win out to stay where he was, up against Reggie's Lionize, who's the 10th seed and coming on strong. A little too late, but nonetheless a scary player to play at this time of the season. Lionize finished the regular season at 5-9. And I'm thinking he's going to finish on a nice 3 or 4 game winning streak here. On the other side of the little boy bracket, trying to get in that 7th place game, we have Bernie's Team B, who's the A seed, finished at 6-8, up against Nick's Waddle Away.
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away,
who was our 9th
waddle,
seed and also finished at 6-8. Bernie is going to get some running back help back in Kenneth Walker, although he has indicated that he wants no part of that decision-making in terms of putting him in. Right now, he does have him on this bench, but I don't know if that's a play he's going to make or not. At this point, he's just playing to have to get to 7th place, so he might just be a spite sit for Kenneth Walker, but I think that's probably his best play without looking at the rest of his players. All right, now it is time for our big boy bracket here, starting off with our 2 players who lost last week, Paul's Cuba Rage and Michael's Amazing Spidey. Both these guys finished at 9-5 during the regular season. Amazing Spidey was the 3 seed due to him winning his division. Paul's Cuba Rage was the 4th seed, the top wild card, as he had tied for the best record. It was up there in points, but these 2 are once again playing each other in a loser's game from the big boy bracket. Their chances for being the champion this year is over, but they can vie for 5th place. The loser of this will get 6th place. The winner will end up in 5th place, and this is the last game these 2 managers will play for this season. The sad news is that both these guys, no matter what they get, are going to finish worse off than they were when they ended the regular season. So that kind of stinks here. But 5th is better than 6th, so go for it here. Paul, good luck to you, my man. We'll see how this one plays out. Keep an eye on T. Higgins there. Again, he said Veterans Day of rest, but he did miss practice, so just keep an eye on there. Not trying to jinx you, just letting you know. Want a full game here to see who's the best team at the end of the season. All right, now in the big boy bracket, these teams are still alive in their quest to be ground champion. Starting off with our number 6 seed, Jimerson's Red Sox Nation finished the regular season at 8-6. We all know how he got here. He's up against Andrew's Crazy Fish, the number 2 seed, who is at 9-5. This will be the third matchup between these two guys. I'm not sure who won the first one. I'm going to guess Red Sox Nation, but I'm not sure. But I know Crazy Fish won their week 13 battle, and that was a big win in terms of payout. So this is the third time these two teams are playing. The winner will move on to the championship game, trying to get their 5th championship in their career. While Red Sox Nation, if he gets his 5th, it'll also be his 4th in a row. So this is a big time matchup. Fortunately for Crazy Fish, he's been riding some handcuffs, and as it is with handcuffs, they don't last very long. Charbonnet looks like he may either not play or definitely cede carries to Kenneth Walker, although there is still hope. Tajay Spears might be arriving if Tony Pollard sits. Tajay Spears is a slam play, a smash play, so he might get lucky and just get another running back available right in time. That's how his season has been going. All right, on to our next battle here, also in the big boy bracket. Both these teams have not yet ever won a championship in this league. Corey's Mac Daddy 2s are number 1 seed, who finished 9-5, had 3 players going on Thursday night, up against Alex as they took our jobs, who was our point leader this year, had an 8-6 record, and he is the 5th seed. So this is a big matchup. Corey's Mac Daddy 2s already has 3 players points in his lineup already done. So he's only got 5 players left to score, while they took our jobs has 7 players left to score. Both guys right now are under projection, and Alex They Took Our Jobs is still projected to win, but we all know what that means. Doesn't mean much. Like I said, these guys are vying for their first league championship. Corey's only been in our league, I think this is his 3rd year, maybe his 4th, and Alex has been one of our mainstays, maybe missing 1 or 2 years along the way, but he's been in the league at least 15 plus years. So he is so due. Can't tell you who I'm rooting for here, but you might be able to tell from my tone. In general, we want a new champion. Let's put it that way. Although good luck to all you guys out there. All right, guys, it is now time to take a look at our updated power rankings.
Wingman Power Rankings.
All right, we're going old school here because it doesn't matter what you did in the regular season anymore. We have only what's in front of us. And if you look right now, we have They Took Our Jobs is back on the top of the power rankings in terms of projected points remaining. And he's up there by a lot, projected to get 110 points per game for the last 2 games of the season. While Mac Daddy 2s is in second at 208 remaining projected points. And Lion Eyes has jumped all the way up with the David Montgomery injury, and Jahmyr Gibbs expected to take the lead role in the Lions backfield. His projected points have skyrocketed. Mason Spidey and Paul's Kubert Rage are right there at 4 and 5. And that's what they're playing for here. So they had a good projection if they could have just survived 1 more week. Surprisingly enough, so our top 2 projected teams are playing each other this week, and our middle tier guys, Red Sox Nation and Crazy Fish, are at 7 and 8. So it's going to be even battles going forward. Our stronger teams are on the one side of the bracket, and our 2 losers have underperformed. All right, guys, it is now time to take a look at this week's starts of the week. Bring it in. Take a knee. Who wants in?
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
All right, son, don't let me down. You're in.
Wingman Fantasy Football. Starts of the week.
All right, we are flying through this show today, guys. All right, so let's start off with our quarterbacks start of the week. Bernie did send me his starts of the week and his Wingman Jam picks, so don't you worry. But this week, he is going with Jared Goff up against the Chicago Bears. He's picking Goff in an outdoors game, but he has faith. I think he's just picking his favorite players this week around. I'm not sure. We didn't really have a chance to talk too much, but he did send him to me. Jared Goff is Bernie's quarterback start of the week. And I am going, all right, he hurt me last week. He was the dud that made me lose. Among other things here, but Kyler Murray versus the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers give up the 6th most points to the position. And I'm thinking Kyler Murray is going to try and use this to get a get-right game because he needs one bad. So Kyler Murray is my quarterback start of the week. All right, back to Bernie's pick here. We're in the running back position this time, and he's going with hometown favorite team, the Dolphins. He's picking Devon the Man Achane in a home game against the 49ers. So we're going to see how that game goes. I like it. I think that's actually going to be a surprising shootout this game here between the Dolphins and the 49ers. So he has Devon Achane as his start of the week. And my start of the week at the running back position, we're going to stay in that same game, the Carolina Panthers. James Sweet Feet Connor up against the Carolina Panthers, who give up the most points to the running back position. So we think that those Cardinals are going to have a get-right game in all sorts of ways against those Panthers. So James Conner is my running back start of the week. Moving along to the wide receiver position, or in our league's case, the receiver position. Bernie's going to go with T. Higgins this week against the Cleveland Browns. Right now, again, he missed practice. I don't think he's going to miss the game, but keep an eye on that. So, Bernie, if you want to text me or send a message, leave a comment, Bernie, if you have a backup plan for your start of the week in case T. Higgins cannot go. All right, my start of the week at the receiver position is Trey McBride of Frankenstein.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
We are going with all Cardinals this week as Trey McBride up against the Carolina Panthers, who give up the 2nd most points to the tight end position. So I'm going to get at least 2 out of 3 is my guess on this one, as I'm hoping and I'm expecting that the Cardinals are going to have a nice day in terms of offense against the Carolina Panthers. Quick review. Bernie's picks this week is Jared Goff, Devon the Man Achane, and T. Higgins, while I'm going with a flock of Cardinals here. Kyler Murray, James Conner, and Trey McBride. All right, guys, it is now time to get into this week's special edition of a 4th and Long.
First down, the game's over. Go for it.
This measurement could determine the Giants'
It is
season.
time for 4th and Long.
With Bernie.
Obviously, and unfortunately, Bernie's not here, but I put together a little 4th and Long as best I could in the short notice I had here. So this 4th and Long, guys, we are looking at what type of team would you like to see win the championship, or what type of team may you be rooting for the rest of our fantasy football league season. Now, I'm not going to name teams here. I'm going to take names out of the equation and just describe our fantasy teams or their managerial styles. If you follow along closely, you'll probably be able to tell which team belongs to whom. But for now, let's take the names off the back of the jerseys and just talk about the types of teams that we have remaining in the Wingman Fantasy Football League playoffs. Our first team we have here is the Dynasty team. This is the team that seems to have it all figured out. Sometimes they are one of the top seeds to get into the playoffs, and sometimes they are just getting in. Knowing that they're just trying to get in, knowing that when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest, they can rely on their past experiences to know just what to do in the biggest moments. Their reputation precedes them, and even as they start to age and maybe lose a step, the refs or moments of perceived luck is the thing that propels them to keep the dynasty alive. It should have been Ben. It should have been Ben. All right, our second type of team on our list. Who are you rooting for here, the Dynasty or this team maybe? This team, I like to call it the set it and forget it team. This team drafted all the right players. This manager may have gone outside the box a bit on draft day, but took the values as they fell to them. With few, if any, draft day misses and the fortune of good health, this team rides their horses to repeatedly eye-popping scores. Only bye weeks can slow this manager down. Now that the bye weeks are over, do they have enough to ride their horses to the finish line? We will see. All right, our third type of team here. This one I call the hyper mover and shaker team. This type of team always leads the league and the transaction count. No matter how active you think you are, this manager will easily double, if not triple, the amount of moves that you will make during the season. They may even use fab money on players that they've already dropped just 2 days prior. The thrill of the transaction is almost, if not more fun than the game itself. This team doesn't have to stream a kicker and defense every week, but they do it just because they can. And most of the time, it seems to work. Does this manager know more than everyone else? Or do they truly have a problem and are making a call, nay, a scream for help? This style seems destined for failure, but alas, they're still here, just waiting for the next running back injury to activate their seemingly worthless bench stash into the next league winner, 1 week at a time. And our final type of manager or team here is the fourth one here, and final team is the runner-up hangover team. This type of team may have barely made the playoffs the year before, but a great playoff run got them inches within their first fantasy title. This type of team could easily believe that last year was just magical. Lightning in a bottle couldn't possibly be repeated. But no, the mere smell of the championship and the hint of what might have been brought on a focus only few could hope to muster. Like the New York Giants in 2007, despite them winning the championship, many thought they were lucky and that success could not be repeated. However, in 2008, they showed everyone that they belonged as they were one of the best teams in the league that following year, until they got derailed by Plaxico Burress shooting himself in the leg. So the question is here, can this runner-up from the previous season avoid a similar self-inflicted wound? The next 2 weeks will answer that question. All right, guys, I hope you like this installment of A Fourth and Long. Just a placeholder, Bernie. Not trying to take that from you. It takes a lot of work, and I'm up very late. All right, guys, now it is time to take a look at this week's actually, we're going to look at our Wingman Jam. But before we pick this week's teams, let's look at the recap for last week's matchup.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka. Minnesota Vikings. Baltimore Ravens. It was a one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. That score is more embarrassing than when your uncle started twerking at the family picnic. Spidey wins. All right, so our score from last week, like you saw there, I had Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry got 44.8 points, and they took that one down, defeating Bernie's team who had the Vikings at Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson, who got a even 30 points. So this week, Bernie let me know that he is going to pick he's sticking with hometown teams. Dolphins is a youthful hometown, and now his current hometown. He is going to go with the Atlanta Falcons, while I am going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. All right, so he's going to stick with he's going to pick the Falcons here, and he's going with the rookie Michael Penix. I tried to text that to somebody today, and it went exactly as you thought it went. Autocorrect was a very embarrassing thing on a text earlier today, so keep that in mind. Definitely don't just push send when you're typing in the name Michael Penix. He has Michael Penix and Bijan Robinson, my player, and I'm going with the Cardinals here, and I'm going to take James Conner and Trey McBride. I'm not sure if it's going to be the passing game or running game. I think it's going to be both, so I'm going to do a little bit of a hedge here and do that. So we got Conner and McBride versus Penix and Bijan Robinson. All right, guys, it is now time to get into this week's mailbag.
You've got mail.
You've got mail.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Mailbag!
All right, guys. All right. So this one comes in from Anonymous. It says, "Hey, fellas, after listening to your podcast for a while, your opening music reminded me of the FX show, The League." And this question is for Bernie. All right, I sent this along to him, so I did give an answer. It says, "Bernie, which character from the show most closely represents you?" I am thinking Rafi. You guys both have pretty wild takes. All right, and the answer here from Bernie is, to be honest, I'd have to say I'm more like Andre. Bad jokes, bad fashion, and just trying too hard to be liked and failing at it. Bernie, you are not failing at life. You're doing awesome. Bad jokes maybe sometimes. Fashion's good, and and I appreciate all your try hard to help us with this show. Obviously, you see how much worse it is without you here, so we do miss you here. All right, and this one, we have another one here in this mailbag here. This one comes in from Reggie. It's a start sick question. It says, "Hey, Wingman, I may have faltered in the Wingman Fantasy Football League, but I'm in an even more prestigious league with huge stakes, and I am looking for some suggestions with a start sit as I am trying to win the championship in this much better league." All right. We all have our favorites here, but you don't have to rub it in. But he mentions here, with a David Montgomery injury, I need to promote a player from my bench or maybe even pick up someone from the waiver wire to start as a running back on my team. So the questions here, choose one of these guys that are on his bench, or if you don't like these guys, we can talk about some guys he mentioned are available on his waiver wire. All right, so players on his bench that he is considering playing here: Najee Harris, Tyrone Tracy, Tajay Spears, or Craig Reynolds. All right, just looking at their schedules here real quick, we have Pittsburgh is playing Baltimore, and Baltimore is the 25th easiest defense to run on. That's not a good matchup, obviously. We have Tyrone Tracy against Atlanta. Atlanta's not much better. They're the 23rd easiest, which means they're not easy to run on. We have Tajay Spears, Tennessee versus the Indianapolis Colts, who are the 6th easiest to run against. And we have Detroit up against Chicago, who's the 4th easiest to run against. But all right, so these guys here, I'm going to knock off Craig Reynolds. I don't think he's going to get enough work. And if he does, it's because Jahmyr Gibbs got hurt, and no one's putting in a player for that, hoping that happens. So with these, we have Harris, Tracy, and Spears. Spears just screams out to me here. Of course, I think he's good either way because Pollard is banged up. But if Pollard misses the game, no question, Spears, no question. Easiest matchup with the most opportunity in a game that's not going to be affected by weather. Najee Harris, Pittsburgh against Baltimore. Harris is untrustworthy. Baltimore seems to slow down other teams in terms of their offense. They just stopped Tyrone Tracy last week, so I don't like that matchup at all. And Tyrone Tracy is the lead back. He's one fumble away from being benched, at least for a little bit of time. Atlanta's defense is ranked well here. I don't know how good they really are. So at this point, I would have Tracy and Spears, and I'd probably play Spears regardless of Pollard. But if you were going back and forth, if Pollard misses, that's going to be the tiebreaker if you have any thoughts there. Now, for players he could consider that are out there on the waiver wire, if he doesn't like these guys, Alexander Mattison going to start this week against Jacksonville. That is a great matchup, although I just don't know how good if the Raiders can dictate what they want to do. We mentioned in the last show here, Jacksonville's been playing a little better, even though they're not good. They're scoring a little bit more, so you don't know if it's going to be a Madison day or a Amir Abdullah day, who's also available on his waiver wire. So he can choose either Raider running back, but I don't know how the script's going to go. It could go either way, although I really don't think the Raiders can impose their will no matter what. So if I had to guess, I would pick Abdullah on limited carries or opportunities, but catching the ball, you get more yards, and he's a better receiver than Madison is a runner. So if those two guys, I would lean Abdullah, but that's a 50-50, man. That's tough. Jaylen Warren is also out there. Again, I'm staying away from Harris anyway, so I'm not going to pick up Warren. Bigsby against in that same game against the Raiders. ETN got 70% of the carries last week. They seem to go back and forth with no rhyme or reason, so he could have a good day, but I wouldn't want to put that in my lineup. And Kendra Miller here. They don't have a great matchup. I would say this: no matter what you do, pick up Kendra Miller. Get him. It'll give you more time to make your decision. The Spears game is at 1:00, but if you don't like the news there, It's trending pretty strongly that Alvin Kamara is not going to play. I know it's not a great matchup. They are playing outside in Green Bay at a nighttime game, so that's a little little knock against Kendra Miller, but I would put him on your team to either consider for this week or maybe even next week. Also, if you get Tajay Spears, kind of going on here, but I realized because I was looking at him myself in our league here. Tajay Spears plays against Jacksonville next week. So he's a slam play this week with Pollard out and potentially a slam play next week. So definitely don't drop Spears. Probably play Spears. Pick up Miller as a backup here. So I would say of these, I could get rid of everybody here except Spears, Tracy, and Miller. I lean Spears, and then it's probably Tracy and then probably Miller just because of the matchups here. But I think Miller's going to get a ton of work. So they're pretty even. But if you ask me, I say Spears. That was a long way to go. But you had a lot of running backs to choose from here. So I want to go through them all here. So yeah, Tajay Spears is my pick. Tracy's next. And then Miller is a backup plan if you're not sure what you want to do. All right, he also has one more question here. Which tight end would you start? And this one's tough. These guys are big-name tight ends, not always performing here. Travis Kelce or Sam Laporta? All right, so let's talk this out a little bit. Laporta's plays for Detroit, who's playing against Chicago here. Last time they played Chicago was that Thanksgiving Day game. He had 2 touchdowns, not a ton of yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. Last year around this Christmas time, he had that big 3-touchdown game, but they are playing outside in Chicago. I know you're a big fan of Jared Goff, and I know you said that he can win in outdoor games against Green Bay, for example, on the rainy day earlier this year. They did win, but I went back and looked. Goff only had 9.9 or less than 10 points, 9.8 points as a quarterback, which means there's not a lot to go around for receivers. I do think Laporta gets the bump without David Montgomery, but being that it's outdoors, there's just it's like for every thumbs up, there's a thumbs down in terms of Laporta. He's not their primary target. Tim Patrick is gaining more plays. I mean, I do like him. Again, it's 2 strikes and 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down for Laporta. Kelce has been inconsistent lately, but I think with the ankle injury to Mahomes, he's going to want to get the ball out of his hands quick, and his early read around the line of scrimmage is Kelce. This could be one of those 8 to 10 catch games for Kelce, hopefully 80 yards or more, and I'm banking on a touchdown for Kelce this time on maybe one of those little shovel passes. They're going to try and get the ball out of Mahomes' hands quickly, especially until he warms up. So this is a tough call here, but with the amount of strikes against Laporta and Goff and the Lions outside, I'm going to go Kelce here. So you're asking me, I'd say Tajay Spears and Travis Kelce are who I would start. Good luck to you, man. I hope I don't lose this one for you. And I should have asked Bernie prior to the show because you did mention whatever Bernie says, you'll do the opposite. I don't know how you can do the opposite when there's 12 choices here. But nonetheless, I understand your sentiment there. Although Bernie's getting a bad rap, he's not here to defend himself. So what are you going to do? All right, guys, I think that's the end of the show today. I just kind of spit through this because I had no one to talk to. It's all by myself. But I'm here with you guys today, and I want to thank you for joining me in this Week 16 preview. We've got 4 managers still alive to get that title. Can someone get their 4th in a row? Or can we have a new person on top of the heap this time around? We'll find out. Either way, we're going to have a 4-time champion versus a no-time champion no matter what outcomes happen this weekend. Paul, good luck to you. I'm going for 5th place, but nonetheless, we both deserve to have the best outcome as we've had fine seasons. With that being said, guys, you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music. Just go ahead and search Wingman the League on those platforms, and we'll jump to the top of your search. While you're there, go ahead and follow. Leave a 5-star review, anything like that. Leave a comment. I don't care. Go for it. Also, if you're not sure if you want to watch or listen our show, you can go to our website at wingmanentertainment.net/podcast. There we have our audio and video feeds. And if you know you want to watch and see me struggle all by myself without my buddy here, Bernie, you can go ahead and do that at our YouTube channel. Please go ahead to that YouTube channel, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. We'll get you in our next mailbag. Hopefully you survive, Reggie, and we can help you with a start sit next week as well. You can find our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. All right, guys, with that being said, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty, and we will see you next time.